What's up, everybody? It's Matt Johnson. We're back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom. And we're talking about how to actually make Facebook ads convert into real deals with real people that actually pay real commission money to sell real houses. And so we're talking about, I know, exactly. Jock, I'm going to clutch my pearls during this entire episode. So we've got...
Oh, Lord.
We've got Matt Cramer on the show today. He was an introduction. We were introduced to Matt behind the scenes by Zach Nussbaum, who you might remember. So Zach is doing some cool things in one area of lead generation. Matt is doing some awesome things with Facebook leads, specifically buyer leads. And we're going to talk about what it takes to actually run ads and follow up in such a way that gets them to convert into actual deals, because many people have tried or are trying Facebook ads, and what happens is they get in and then they believe that the leads are no good and trash and whatever, and end up not being able to make it work for whatever reason. So we're going to talk about all those stuff. We can also talk about how Matt essentially had to start over from scratch, and a lot of agents in our audience have been or will be in that situation. So I know they'd be very curious about how you can hit a new market and hit the ground running. So a bunch of stuff to get into as always. First of all, the junior grandmaster himself in the co-pilot seat and back in his box where he so belongs. Greg McDaniel, what's up today?
I love my box. I love being in box. I'm not going to ever come out of box. But I got to hang out with someone, and you shut your trap hole while I tell about who I had lunch with. I got to hang out with Mr. Dave Ramsey. He is one of the top 3 radio personalities in the country. He has over 15 million people that are listening to him every time he turns on his mic. Really, Matt talks shit, but that's okay. That's what Matt does. Little black coal heart, But, Dave's super generous, super awesome, super giving. Actually, he and I talked for about 10, 15 minutes one-on-one. Just really cool dude. He offered up, he's like, hey, Greg, if I can ever do anything to help you with your radio show and stuff like that, because I told him that we're just starting a radio show. And he's like, you know what? Get a hold of my staff. We'd be happy to coach you and help you in any way we can. I'm like, are you fucking serious, dude? Like, Dave Ramsey's, like, giving me, like, personal, like, invite to, like, hey, like, we'd be happy to help you. I'm like, yeah, I'm in, man. It was inspiring to kind of be around this guy who has such a huge audience of over 15, 16 million followers, and he was the most humble human being I've ever seen in that type of a situation. And that's what I like the most about it. I walked into the room, and he just turned around, he was talking to some other people, he just turned around and goes, hey, man, how are you? My name's Dave. I'm like, what's up, Dave? And just chatted it up. And I think that's where a lot of the people, because I talked about the book Building Your Story Brand, and he was featured in that, and he and I started riffing on it, and he lit up about it. We and I just chatted and just kind of chucked it up, and then during his speech, he kind of referenced back to our conversation. And the important thing is that with someone with that much influence, right, 15 million people, he's changing people's lives around the world and around the country every single time. He still has the humility to talk to a nobody like me and give advice and hang out. And I think a lot of times for us real estate agents, sometimes we get high on our own supply. We think we're oh, God, I smell good. We're smelling our own farts. When in reality, we're not that as good as we think we are. And we need to start making our customers the heroes in our story instead of us being the heroes. Instead of saying you're number one, motherfucker, nobody cares if you're number one. You should say, look, my clients are number one. My success stories are number one. Here, check out these lives I've changed. But we all do it a little bit backwards, and that's what I really took away from Dave. So if you guys haven't really checked him out, I didn't really know kind of much about him until yesterday. Go take a look at this. Matt has his own opinion about it, but Matt's not allowed to say his opinion on the show about it because he's contractually obligated to shut up. That's how it is.
I was gonna make the same joke about you. How about we pipe down and make our guest the hero of today's show? And
yes,
not,
Matt.
Not Dave Ramsey. All right, Matt Cramer, officially welcome.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on here.
So give us a little bit of background, just kind of a 60-second bio, who you are, where you are, what you do, so people know kind of what perspective you're coming at this from.
Right on. So I'm a licensed agent, been licensed almost 6 years now. Started out in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Did it there for about 3 years. Expired for sale by owners. That was pretty much my bread and butter over there. And then my wife got pregnant with our second child. We decided to move closer to her family, which is over in the Detroit metro area. From that point, I had to basically start over, right? Because you can't do deals 3 hours away in another city when you don't live there. So had to start over. I started doing the expired and FSBO thing again, and it was just, it was wearing on me because I got to be honest, like going from a decent metropolitan area to a massive metropolitan area, like the competition was so much more fierce And so, I'm working a lot harder to get similar results or even less results sometimes. And at that point, there was a team that was out of our office, and I started talking to some of the agents on the team, and I was like, wait, they provide the leads for you? Like, they're giving you guys leads, and you only have to pay a small split out of that? And I was like, well, that's something I'd be interested in. So I joined the team, and from that point, I basically, and it was the Perna team out of the Detroit metro area. And from that point, after about 2 months, they offered me a position as the director of lead gen, which, if you're not familiar with the term, it's basically a director of ops who's over all things lead generation.
Okay.
So I did that for 2 years, and after that, back in, recent March, I actually started my own agency doing Facebook management and Facebook lead management for agents.
Wow.
Very cool.
What led to that transition of you starting your own agency?
So I think what it was for me is that when you're on a team and you're the in-house guy, there's a little bit of a ceiling, right?
Yeah.
And so I just had kind of grown to the point where I was ready to go do my own thing and try and take it to the next level. And I felt like that was the best opportunity at the time to do so.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
the thing I like about that is you were forward thinking. You saw that, like, okay, look, I've reached the top of my potential here at this organization, great group of people, but me and my family, my kids, and my wife, I can do better for them. And you're on one elevator, you rode it up to the highest you could go, hopped off the elevator, got on the next elevator, and then kept riding it up.
Exactly. And I wouldn't say that it was so much of a ceiling of the position. It was, I think, my ceiling in the organization, right? Like, I'd taken it as far as I felt
Correct.
like I could take it,
Right.
And it was time for somebody else to take it to the next level there, and time for me to move on and take it myself to the next level elsewhere.
That's
Very
awesome.
cool.
I like how you saw that. I like the forward thinking. A lot of people just don't see the forward thinking. A lot of folks just stay on that same merry-go-round or the same elevator for a long period of time, and then we wonder, like, why is this the same year as last year? Why is last year the same year as this year? Why is this the same year as my first year? Well, because you never got off the elevator, and you never decided to say, hey, look, maybe I'll go over here and I'll take another opportunity to better my financial standings. So
Exactly.
kudos to you, brother. Now I can't wait to hear
man.
more about all this cool stuff you're going to bring to us.
Yeah, for sure. What do you guys want to know? What do we want to get into?
Well, what's your favorite color?
Yeah, exactly.
And do you like long walks or short walks on the beach? I mean, there's so much to cover.
Well, let's start here. So there's a good question from Cody Gideon on the Lead Gen Description Objections Facebook groups that says, who's killing it with Facebook ads? I'd love to speak to you about what works best, creating a great landing page, and how you define your audience. I think that's a really good place to start, because she kind of reels off a couple of the elements that are critical in actually making Facebook ads work, which is your audience, and then where the heck are you sending them? And so what do you see working right now? And let's start maybe a little bit with the conversation on like buyer versus seller in terms of what you go after.
So sellers, it's still pretty common to just do a home eval, right? So a home eval lead, which is basically the same as a lot of the home evaluation companies that are out there, but now you're able to do that yourself. And she mentioned a landing page, so I'll just say, for the most part, we're doing lead ads, which is basically not a landing page, but it's a lead form inside of Facebook. So you don't actually have to send them off of Facebook. And the nice thing about that is a lot of times you get a lower cost per lead, because Facebook likes when you keep things inside of the platform.
Yep.
And so we'll use
sense.
lead ads to do that. For sellers, we'd do something like a home evaluation, free home evaluations. Sometimes there's like guides you can give away, like 7 things to do to make your home worth more money today.
Mm-hmm.
And those are typically your lead magnets for sellers.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the buyers, it's going to be something like a homes list or a single listing, right?
Okay. So what do you mean by homes list?
So a homes list would be, check out this list of homes in the Detroit metro area under 300,000, right? So it's a list of homes that are in the price range that you mentioned, basically. And then you're putting that out there. And the nice thing about a homes list is it differs from a listing in the fact that if you advertise a listing, somebody enters their information, they get to the pictures, and they go, oh, I don't really like that. It's not that easy to get a hold of them, right? Because they went, I don't like the house. Like, I already know what you have for me, and I'm not interested. But with the homes list, a lot of times what we're doing is we're not supplying the homes list right there, right? So on the thank you page, it would say something along the lines of, we'll be reaching out to you shortly to confirm the details for your specific home list. And then they know that we're going to be calling. and we're going to get some information about what they're looking for to set up their homes list.
Okay. Now, with in I understand probably in most cases, with most agents, you're probably just pulling a list off of their IDX website and sending that over to that in some form or fashion. But
Yeah.
if you were the type of agent who had an off the market properties kind of list, I would assume that'd be a much juicier carrot on the end of that stick. And
Absolutely.
That would probably be an easier ad and a less expensive ad to run because it's something they can't get from any other agent anywhere else.
Exactly. And a quick way to build a list like that is home evaluations, because now you have a list of people that are interested in what their homes are worth and potentially making a move.
Interesting. That's good.
So,
Greg, you would just go straight to Zillow, make me move, and bloop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
Exactly.
So you could use that. You could build your home evaluation list. But yeah, if you have that off-market list, and what I like about an off-market list is I'm not going to send it to you, right? If you want it, you need to come into the office and we'll go over it, right? Because I can't just send out these people's information, typically legally, but also because, I have something great here, and if you want it, you need to come into the office.
Yeah, make them work for it a little bit. I like
Exactly.
Too often people just give stuff away without getting anything in return, and I've been 100% guilty of that many times. That's why putting down the screws on people a little bit in not a bad way, but just in a informative way. Hey, look, if you want this thing, man, you have to take a couple of steps to actually get this thing.
Yeah.
And it also clears out, are people just tire kickers, or are they actually going to be for real about something? Like for my coaching clients, I make them take certain actions. Like they have to physically cut me a check the first several months of me coaching with them. It's not because I'm trying to be rude. I'm just making them take certain steps, because if you're not going to take that first step, you're not going to take the next step. Therefore, I weed you out very quickly. And I think that's what you're doing. Is that correct? Absolutely.
And I think that's a great point that you make, is because if you're dealing with coaching people or coaching students or things like that, a lot of times like they need to see that check go out, right? Or they need to see the money leave their account so that they are connecting the fact that they're investing in something with the actions that they're going to be taking, right? Because if they just get the information for free, right? I mean, how many people have great information on YouTube and people go watch it and they take no action, right? There's something about when they pay for it, it's more valuable. And while I haven't figured out a way to get buyers to pay for the information, which would be cool. However, they are in a way paying for it when they come to the office, right? Because they're taking time out of their day and they're spending gas money. There's an actual investment that they're making in you, which makes it a better conversation when they get there and more likely that you're going to be able to get them signed.
I love that.
I like it.
The investment side. So everyone who's listening or watching this, take this to note, write some notes down. See, I'm writing notes down. You think I'm kidding? I really am writing notes about this. The reason why is that a lot of this stuff we like we'll nod and say wow, good stuff. Are you gonna do it? Nope, not gonna put anything into action. Right. And that's where so many of us drop the ball on this stuff. Obviously, Matt, you're obviously not dropping the ball, which is cool.
Well, yeah, and I'm curious because I want to go back kind of, Matt, when you first moved to Detroit. So you land in this new area, you're hitting the phones, and basically you're going. It's not successful. Just like, holy cow! Like I got to do 2 and 3 times as much work. I got to do two times as many phone calls just to get through, just to overcome all the other competitors to get in the door essentially with FSBOs and expireds. Yeah. So you decide to kind of shift. Walk me through the progression of what were some of the things you started doing on Facebook and some of the early mistakes that you made, and how you would kind of start differently if you had the same problem of starting in a new market today.
Yeah. So I think the biggest shift for me was my mindset, right? Because I had been, I had a coach. I was paying good money to a coach, and he was completely anti-marketing paid-for leads, right? And so all I did was expired and for sale by owner. That, he was all about the bottom line is way better when all you're doing is expired and for sale by owner, which makes sense, but you're also capped at a certain point because as we've seen the market shift, there's fewer expireds. Yeah, and you might hate your life. Yes. So there was that shift, right, when the team was starting to pay for these leads, and I was like, okay, so wait, they're paying for Zillow and Realtor.com and all this stuff, and I'm like, well, what's the point? Those don't convert, right? That's what I'd always heard, is these don't convert. Everybody has problems with them, blah, blah, blah. Well, I get in there, and there's scripts you follow for them just the same way you would with expireds. And if you follow the process, reaching out to them, following up with them just like they were an expired, you actually have a chance at converting these leads into deals. And so there was like this awakening of like, oh, wait, online marketing actually works. right? Because I had done a little bit of Facebook stuff in the past, but nothing great. And I think one of the areas that I made mistakes in there was I was constantly trying to find the next best landing page or the next best ad, and focusing on like getting this high quality lead. A lot of times I'll talk to coaching students, and they're trying to come up with this ultimate solution to have the highest quality lead that you could possibly get, that fills out all the information, that just wants you to help them buy a house, and they're willing to pay, $50 a lead for those, right?
Right.
But you have to look at the people that have already done this, like Zillow and Realtor.com, right? There's a reason that they don't have 25 fields of information that you have to fill out to find out about a house for sale or see a list of homes, right? You only have to fill out your name, number, and email for the most part.
Okay.
And the reason being is because that is kind of the balance of getting the information that you need with getting the amount of leads that you need. And if there was a way for them to go out there and find leads that were completely ready to go today, in 25 pieces of information, you got to know that they would have done it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're sitting here spinning our wheels to try and do that, I think we're wasting time when we really need to just go out and...
Is there an alert we need to worry about?
Apparently that's the emergency alert in this area. I don't know. I knew there was a test today, but I forgot to mute my phone.
Mark yourself safe immediately. Mark yourself safe.
I got it. No, I got it too. I just
I did
to have
too.
my phone on silent.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Presidential alert.
Yeah.
Never mind. You're good.
Okay, cool. So,
funny.
but yeah, so everybody's trying to create this perfect lead, but the truth is you just need to generate a quantity of leads. And I truly believe that the quantity, or the quality, I should say, is inside of the quantity of leads.
We actually had a gal a couple of years ago. Matt and I were back out in New York in White Plains, and we were reading some comments off of LGSO, Lead Gen Script and Objections, and there's a gal that said, look, I'm paraphrasing at this point because it's been 2+ years, and she's like, basically, hey, I don't really have the time, nor do I want to nurture leads, so does anyone have a resource where I can just go get people who just want to do something? And one of the responses was, yeah, there's a career with an apron involved. I suggest you look into it. And so we chuckled on that quite a bit, and that is the unicorn. That is the goal, the easy button of lead gen. I mean, if that was actually there, which I think it might actually be there in the future when a lot of these big companies get involved, like Facebook, Zillow, and some other organizations that are going to be basically my prediction is they're going to be the lead source. We're going to pay them a hefty referral fee. They're going to do all the heavy lifting. They're going to drop in stuff to us. We do the legwork, and everyone gets paid. But
Right.
until that happens, that just doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. And it's chasing that unicorn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Those
A lot
things.
of times, a lot of times, I'll tell my students, like, hey, we're trying to find a few nuggets of gold. We're not trying to turn the entire river into gold.
Right.
Because they want every lead to be a winner. But at a 3% conversion rate, which is pretty decent for Facebook, you're still going to talk to 97 no's, right? Or not no's to get to those 3. And a lot of people have a hard time really grasping that. So, I mean, they'll understand it, but they won't grasp it. And they'll get, 50 leads in, and they don't have a deal yet, and they're confused about what's going on. It's like, well, your sample size isn't even big enough to go off of the actual conversion rates.
Yeah. We know from, we've said it on the show before, Jeff Cohn and his team in Nebraska, which has now grown to 50 agents. It was 30 last year when they did 800 some deals. So they do a lot of Google and Facebook into their Boomtown system, and then they're tracking all the phone calls. And then Jeff co-owns 1,000 calls a day, which does nothing but just dial and cycle through calls. And anyway, point being, like they know, because they have so many agents making calls and following up on online leads, and they're holding them accountable every day. They know it takes 150 to 180 dials to do one deal. And so, agents that get 50 leads in, what that really means is they made 50 calls if they called every one of those leads.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big if, but assuming they called every lead, they're getting 50 leads in. They're only a third of the way to a deal. And that's the tough part about it, is that that's just not their expectation. That's not what they're wanting to spend their money on. So, which I get. I understand where they're coming from. But if you're going to jump into that game, you do have to know the game that you're jumping into.
Exactly. And even if it is 150 calls that you've got to make to get, a deal done, well, 150 connections might mean that you need 250 leads, right? It depends on what your connection rate is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of different pieces that go into it. And so people will ask, like, hey, what's the conversion rate going to be? And Well, it depends on you, because if I give 100 leads to one agent, another agent, and another agent, they're all going to have a different conversion rate, right? Because it's going to depend on their system and their ability to follow up.
I get asked that a lot when I do my beers and calls. Like, how many calls does it take to get a lead? I'm like, dude, that's an impossible answer. First, what's your demographics look like? What do your geographics look like? What does your ability to smell out the possible lead look like? How long have you been doing this? What is it, a single income or a double income neighborhood? What time of year is it? I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
The only thing that's, that you need to concentrate on is how persistent are you going to be on your lead follow-up. That will dictate your success level. Yep. Nothing else. And if things aren't working, switch over. I went from Mojo to RedX. Again, I'm getting massive success now with RedX because Mojo wasn't providing what I needed. Like you and I, we were talking about this, pre-show.
Yeah.
And we were discussing the merits of different callers and so on and so forth. And it's just about personal preference. If one thing's not working, switch over to something else that might work. Try it for 6 months, 3 months, something like that, and then jump in. If it does work, double down on it. Don't sit there and be like, well, it's working so well, I can dial my time back. And I don't have to do as many calls. No, you're doing it wrong. Damn it.
Exactly.
All right. Well, let's talk about that part of it. Let's talk about how to get better at converting the leads that we have. So this is a good question from Al on lead follow-up. Anyone out there have some killer telephone scripts for lead follow-up? I would think Aaron Wittenstein and a couple other guys here would know where to find the best scripts. So from your perspective, what do you find are the best scripts, if there is a best script, if there's such a thing? So let's talk about that a little bit, and how do you teach people how to follow up on online leads?
So basically what we're doing with any online buyer leads, and these can be buyers who have a home to sell too. We'll find that out somewhere along our script. But basically we're going through LP Mama. Are you guys familiar with that?
Oh,
a little bit, yeah.
LP Mama?
Yep.
Yeah,
so we're going over the location, then the price, their motivation, whether or not they're working with an agent, the mortgage, and then the appointment. So it's called LP Mama.
Oh, from Active. Cool. I see it right here on Active Rain. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what we're running through. You inquired on a list of homes that was in, Keego Harbor, Michigan. Is that the only place you're looking, or are you open to other areas as well? So we'll, determine that location first, and then you go into the price. So, all right, this list of homes is homes under 300. Now, is that the only homes you're interested in, or are you willing to go up higher if you find the right home? Narrow down the price range. Motivation, so we're going to go into, okay, so what brings you to Keego Harbor? What has you guys coming here? And I think this is honestly one of the biggest keys is the motivation. And I'm sure you can attest to this with expireds as well, right? So the motivation is the key on whether or not they're going to list, whether or not they're going to buy. And so a lot of times we'll hear somebody say, like when they're selling, we want to downsize. And we'll go, okay, there's the motivation is they want to downsize. But really that's kind of a false flag because it's not an actual motivation. That's just the goal, right? And so the motivation is why they want to downsize. And so we want to dig in, what has you guys downsizing? Oh, well, we've got a house with stairs and we need a ranch because our knees don't work anymore, right? I think that's one of the most common ones that I've heard when people say they want to move into a ranch, right? It's usually something with their joints in some way or another.
Right.
So that's a real motivation, right? Because it's causing them pain to stay in the house.
Physical pain, literal pain.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's so easy to take the client's goal and put that down as a motivation, but it's not. And you got to be careful about that because otherwise your ability to qualify the lead is going to be diminished.
Sometimes what I hear coming out of you right now, and Matt, of course, please correct me if I'm wrong, which I'm not.
Yeah.
Thank
you. I'm glad you determined that in advance. So I'm just going to sit down and fight
I'll just sit back. You're good.
I had to throw that in there for fun. But the thing is, what I'm hearing is something I learned from Dave yesterday is that I asked him how to do a good radio show. And he said, everyone asks me about 401ks. That's boring ass shit, right? You answer the same thing. That's the same thing, like, why are you thinking about making a move? It's the same stupid answers. But you got to get behind your client, get behind your caller, get behind them, that initial wall, and pull out what that true reason is. Like, why are you thinking about making a move? Oh, we're thinking about I want to downsize. Okay, help me understand why you're thinking about downsizing. Well, like you said, my knees aren't hurting too much, or I lost my husband 3 months ago, and I need to, I don't need the big house anymore, or my kids moved out, or get behind that narrative. And now that's the real thing, man. That's what you can really work with.
Yeah.
People will give
And
you surface answers all the time.
absolutely. And you have to find that, and especially because of your follow-up, right? Because you want to follow up with the leads that are most likely to convert. I mean, ideally, you want to follow up with all the leads, but we know that's not always going to happen. So
Right.
if you can make sure you're following up with the ones that are most likely to convert, you're most likely, to do more deals.
Love it.
Yeah.
Very cool. And we've got who was it that was watching asked, what is the first A in LP Mama? Scott, there we go. What's the first A for? I believe it's agent. So location, price, motivation, and then agent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
I put the whole.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I put the whole breakdown in the notes here for you guys. All you guys are watching us.
Yeah, and I've totally made that mistake. It's funny, just in talking with people about their goals for their podcast or any other type of marketing strategy we might be talking about. There is, and actually, Greg, you brought up StoryBrand earlier when you were going on about the person who I'm going to remain nameless. StoryBrand. So he talks about how the fact that there's both an external and an internal motivation. So I think, Matt, what you're talking about is that they're going to give you something, which sounds good. Right. Oh, well, like it's just time for us to blah, 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 upgrade, downsize, whatever the case is. They're going to give you the goal, or they're going to give you the reason that they tell at family functions that sounds good. But somewhere behind there is some sort of pain or a change in social status that is going to relieve some pain, right? That there's some gain that takes away some pain, right? So in other words, they're looking for some sort of a social status change, whatever that might be. Either they want to get a condo, they want to downsize, but they also want to kind of get a condo downtown in the nice area. Or, or they want to get the 4-bedroom, 3-car garage because they're planning on getting a larger SUV that's a little bit more fancy. Like there's all these kind of, and that's what I've been really guilty of in the past, is projecting and going, oh yeah, I totally get it. No, upgrading, you want that extra bedroom for the office. Cool, let's go do it. And then letting the conversation drop there and not really getting to the internal motivation of why they're really going to go through the pain. Why are you willing to go through the 3 to 6 months of pain of a real estate transaction? What is the real gain that you're looking for? And usually it's something that they're not going to tell you up front. So I like that you pointed out. You're trying to find the motivation behind the motivation.
Exactly. The real motivation. I've heard dig 3 layers deep. Tell me more about that, Okay, and what's important about that?
Joe Rico's a really good one about that. Yep.
Yes, Joe Rico's really good about that. I was in his language of sales class years ago when he was still teaching that.
He still is. It's called something slightly.
Now he's language of agreement.
Language agreement. Okay, it was the truth about sales, language of agreement, something like that. He's actually doing a bunch of stuff with Helixson as well. So guys, go check out Joe Rico. That course is amazing. I actually took it. Greg, was it 2 years ago? It was the winter of 2 years ago or something. Remember, part of that was the assignment to get the review on yourself, like a 360 review, and I had you do one of them. You were very nice. You did not rip me to shreds like you attempt to do on the show.
That's because what we do on the show. These are characters we play to fuck with each other and everything else. But yeah, you and I are very, very good friends, business partners, everything else. So when it comes down to real shit, I'm going to tell you how it really is. Here, I just fuck with you because that's just part of my daily enjoyment and my fulfillment in life is to make you cringe. So. It was interesting though the way you asked the questions when you went through the whole series. Like you were tentative, like you weren't so sure you wanted to ask me those questions. But when you heard the answers, how did that make you feel? It kind of ripped off the Band-Aid a little bit. You're like, oh, this is how people really see me. Okay, this is so much better than the fluffy rabbit, bullshit that we all kind of tell each other. Like, how you doing? I'm good. Inside, you're like, I'm dying. Are you shitting me?
Yeah. No, it was good. Yeah, it's that was a really great course. Not only for and that was one of the big things that I really liked about it was that 3-step how to get deeper, right? Just that three step question. So let's go through that again. It was something like tell me on why is that?
Tell me more about that.
Tell me more about that.
What will that do for you, and why is that important to you?
Mm-hmm.
Right. I believe is what the 3 were.
Something like that. Yep.
Which is funny because I didn't actually know that those 3 questions came from him. I knew they were floating around somewhere, but that's cool.
Well, I was gonna say, and he could probably give us a lesson of where they really came from, but that's where he's the only one I've ever heard express them like that. But
Right.
I'm sure he got them from somewhere, or something close to that. But yeah, so get down to their real motivation. So let me ask you this. I think one of the areas where people struggle, even getting into that conversation, getting to the motivation part, getting past the location and price, is getting people to hang in there with them while they ask those first couple of questions so that they understand that there's value in this conversation.
Right.
So how would you recommend people handle just that first 30 to 60 seconds when you're trying to set the hook, essentially, so that they'll give you the permission to ask those bigger questions about their motivation? People just don't volunteer that to just anyone.
Yeah. So I think it comes down to building rapport and building that as quick as possible. And the best way I've found to do that is in the first, 5-10 seconds, you've got to listen to the way that they answer the phone, and you've got to mirror and match that to the best of your abilities.
Right.
So, somebody who's coming in and they're like, hello, like, you're not going to go in with, hey, how's it going? It's Matt, because they're going to be like, oh my gosh, this dude's on crack, right? They're just like, you're so far above their energy level, right?
Yeah.
And you want to stay like just a hair above their energy level so that you're still leading the conversation. But you don't, again, you want to make sure that what am I trying to say here? You want to mirror and match so that the rapport can start to build, right? Because if you start off this far apart, it's really hard to get to those further questions because they're not connecting with you immediately. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, love it.
When you're mirroring and matching, you're giving them permission to speak in their language. It's okay to be at their cadence. Super aggressive, super mild, somewhere in the middle. As long as you meet them now, they're subconsciously going, dude, I like this guy. I like this gal. They speak like I speak. I find them as not a threat. I will listen.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that is so key, because part of what I did on the team was I ran an ISA team. And so that was something that I worked with everybody on, was that first 5 to 10 seconds, just making sure that you're mirroring and matching the energy and the tone is what I would say, is the energy and the tone.
So let me ask you this, Matt. You're obviously you're a professional. You have your own firm doing this. When did you start learning this? How did you start hearing this for the first time? When you're sitting there and you're doing your calls or whatever else, and you're like, oh, that's what it looks like. That's what it feels like to mirror and match. Like this is how everyone talks about this bullshit. This is how it feels. Like, walk people through that who have never experienced a mirror and match.
Okay, so we'll have to go back a little bit further.
And how did you learn how to hear it? That's the part I want to see how he felt. But how did you learn how to hear it? Like, was there a process so people can actually start putting it into their calls?
That's a great question. So when I started on the phone, it was not actually in real estate. My dad owns an online company that sells parts for generators, heaters, air compressors, and so on. And basically, I got into phone sales there when I was 16. Okay, and that was all inbound. But something they used to make fun of me for was that if somebody had an accent of any sort, like, I would slightly start talking in that accent and wouldn't even realize that I was doing it. Okay, but I was making more sales than anybody else. Right? So I'm mirroring and matching these people, and I have no idea that I'm doing it. And I think it was when I started going through some of these coaching programs that I realized what was happening and was able to start looking for it and controlling it a little bit more. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was something that, fortunately, it came somewhat naturally for me to mirror and match people. However, I had no idea I was doing it until I started getting into some coaching and some training. And like Joel's program was one of those, because he goes into mirroring and matching a lot.
Matt, let me ask you, just in your background, because this is something that came really, sounds like you gravitated towards it really naturally. So let me ask you a question about your background before that. Any history of being a musician or in sports?
Yeah. So baseball for, let's say, 13 years.
Nice.
I've played several instruments, mostly by ear, and watching YouTube videos. And then I was a stand-up comedian for 5 years.
No shit.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's my theory, and here's why I asked that. So the mirror and matching thing, and this partially comes from the book Mastery by Robert Greene, but he talks about the ability to mimic and imitate other people is one of the paths to mastering a skill.
Mhm.
So we actually have like what he calls mirror neurons in our brain, and the better we get at imitating, the faster those mirror neurons work, and the better we get at imitating, and the cycle continues. So it's one of the things that makes us like there's some people that are, and I'm the same way. So I played music by ear. Like I
Mhm.
grew up and essentially watched, mimicked, and then went home and mimicked some more. And it got to the point where I was in my teens, I would go through phases where I would rip off one particular musician, and I would do everything. I would set up my kit. I would imitate like their body language, the sound. I would play all their music. I would immerse myself in that one musician. And I think that built because the same thing happened to me when I hit the phones coming out of high school. Same thing. Like I could hear it. And so I marvel at people's inability to hear when they're not building rapport, and their total inability to mirror and match other people.
Yeah.
Because for me, it came naturally. But I think there's people out there that maybe don't have that background of like
Right.
imitating people to build their skill that way. And I do think there's that is something to be aware of. The people that it comes naturally to, it's not because you're necessarily better on the phones. You had this history of imitation before you ever hit the phones. And there's just people out there that I think have some catching up to do in that area. For whatever reason, they just didn't use that skill set yet.
Well, exactly. And I think
That makes sense.
the quickest way that I could, encourage somebody to get there, for one, Joel's course is great.
Yeah.
But also, like if you don't have any money to go take a course right now and you need just some ideas, like listen to the tone, the pitch of somebody's voice, or, are they way up here or are they down here? Things like that. Those are easy things to mimic. Listen to how fast they talk. If they talk really slow, or if they really talk fast, those are some really quick basics that you could start to look for. And the more that you're aware of those and the more that you attempt to mimic those, the better you're going to get at it.
Yeah, and that's something you can practice just in life. Every time you go to go grab lunch somewhere, every one of the people that makes your Chipotle burrito is going to have a different pace and tone, So it's like there's ways to practice that, like just kind of out in the world. So if you feel like that's a struggle, and if you're listening to this and you go, okay, when I pick up the phone and I make those follow-up calls, people cut me off and they don't give me a chance. Like my phone calls last 2 minutes. Like that's to me, that's what's happening. Is you're off on your mirror matching, but the good news is that's a skill you can work at pretty much all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even if that's a struggle for you right now, just be aware that it's a struggle, so it's something you can work on. And in the meantime, use the numbers so that you can build your conversion rates, right? So if you know that, hey, I'm getting a hold of 15% of people, I'm getting a hold of like 50% of people, and I'm only having conversations with 30%. Well, then I'd probably use 30% as your contact rate rather than the 50, because you're getting hung up on before you can actually speak to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then you work on building that connection rate up so that you can build your conversion rate up, because that's the first place I go with people when they're having trouble with Facebook leads and converting them is, okay, what is your connection rate? Like how often are you able to actually get into a conversation about real estate when you get a lead? And that's the first thing that we want to work on fixing.
Interesting. Okay, cool. All right. Well, so I've got one final question. I want to talk about the kind of where you see lead generation going and what are some of the fun stuff that's working right now, just super tactical stuff if we can. Before we do that, I think you've got a free gift for anyone that's listening.
Yeah. So let's see here. I believe I have just a basic outline of scripts that I've had on my website, prospectingrealestateagent.com, and this is back from when I did prospecting and whatnot. And you can go there and download a free packet of scripts that'll help you in different areas.
Awesome. And then you've got the actual kind of real estate marketing conversion mastery, which you can get now for 70% off. So that's at conversionsreu.com. So conversions.reu.com. We'll throw that in the Facebook here and then in the show notes as well, so people can grab that, which is pretty awesome. It's a real estate lead conversion mini course. So we appreciate that, like making a custom thing for our audience, which is phenomenal. So guys, go grab that.
Sure.
Yeah. So let's talk about the future for just a few minutes and prognosticate. So where do you think things are going?
Oh man, That's such a good question. Right now, I'm really interested to see what's going to happen with what Zillow's doing and Open Door with these, we'll buy your house type thing.
Yeah.
I really think that seller leads are going to move away from home evaluations and into basically cash offers for the house, which means more agents are going to have to learn how to do wholesaling or potentially investing themselves.
Interesting. Okay, I've heard people speculate on the Open Door stuff, but yeah, forcing agents to get better at wholesaling. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
we
for
had Derek
anybody,
Evans who runs a show in San Diego, and he's the first one that we've had on the show that really came out and said, look, all the venture capital is pouring into like these programs to make offers to homeowners to just get them out of the house.
Yeah.
But he was assuming that they were going in and offering a price that was close enough to retail that it made it worth them to turn around and just put it on the open market and sell it. I hadn't thought about the wholesaling thing. That's definitely interesting. That might be who knows, that might be the next version of REO that we all have to shift to. Be interesting.
Yeah. And it's something because most people don't have the capital behind them to go out and buy these homes themselves. Or maybe they can't qualify to go get the investment loans or whatever it is, or maybe they just don't want the debt, right? Whatever it is, wholesaling is a solution for that. And I think if you're able to do that, as the market starts to shift a little bit more and as these companies become, more well known for these offers, like you're able to be more competitive with what's going on in the market.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's definitely going to go there for sure, but that's kind of what I'm watching right now because I think, that's an awesome way to get seller leads, right? You want to find out what we can give you cash for your home. It's much stronger than a home evaluation.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, I know the guys that run that. We've got a couple of clients actually that are big in the real estate investing world, and that's their marketing. They still do a lot of they're combining Facebook ads now with direct mail and just hitting people by air, land, and sea. But holy cow, yeah, like that. Those types of cash offers generate a ton of response. Yeah, that'd be a brave new world. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else on the Facebook ads front?
Let's see.
That you think people would be helpful for them to know? What's the coolest, most cutting edge thing in Facebook ads that you see coming down, either doing now or coming down the pipeline?
Right now, like I said, lead ads is huge because the whole thing is in platform. It's not hard to get leads at a great cost. If you're in a location besides New York City, Miami, Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco, like outside of those areas, it's not a big challenge a lot of times to get leads under $3 a piece.
Wow. What do you think is what kind of budget would you like to see people start with monthly?
$500 a month is usually if we bring somebody on as a client, then we're going to do $500 a month is basically the minimum ad spend because we need to be able to generate a decent amount of leads. And in order for that to happen, we need to be able to optimize the algorithm or whatever, Facebook's learning phase. And typically we see that costing a little bit more money, right?
Gotcha. Okay, so, cool. $500 a month.
Yeah, $500 a month is usually where we like to start at. Above that, you're going to get way more leads, but $500 a month, you could get easily, I would say, anywhere from 50 to 100 leads, if not more.
And how long typically is that kind of learning phase where you're kind of figuring out what works in a market?
Typically, we'll get it nailed down within a week to two.
Nice. That's not bad. Okay. Very cool. Awesome. Okay. All right, Matt. So remind us again where people can go to connect with you and learn more about you.
Yeah. So conversions with an S, reu.com. You can get our conversion mini course that's going to help you convert your Facebook leads, help you with the scripts. We've got our exact scripts that we're using with our clients right now. We've got a walkthrough on those scripts, what makes them effective. We've got role play calls that we've recorded. We've got live calls that we've got recorded. And there's just a ton of information in there on converting Facebook leads or online leads in general, right?
Awesome.
So that's the best way, cool. Or feel free to hit me up on Facebook, facebook.com/Matt Cramer.
Oh, perfect. Easy enough. All right. And then Greg, what about you? How do people connect?
All right, guys, go to bookmcdaniel.com. Again, it's bookmcdaniel.com. what you guys will do there, look, like we talked about in today's show, the landscape is changing dramatically. A lot of people are going in different directions. It's one of the craziest time I've seen in brokerage shifting. If you guys have heard about EXP, if you guys are interested in building wealth, not just an income, if you want us to help you get your business stronger in your farming, your lead gen, your coaching, and everything else at a zero-cost basis, come on over. Let us help you build your brand. Let us help you build your business. Join EXP. Take a look how to make 3 lines of income, still just sell real estate. And it's different than any other platform I've seen, and that's why Matt and I shifted over. So go to bookmcdaniel.com. We'll talk about, it'll take a 30-minute little spot. We'll talk about if it's the right fit for you or not. Matt, how are people going to rate our show? And then, of course, we need to pick a color.
That's right. All right, so everybody go to Apple Podcasts, or you can go to iTunes and rate the show there. 5-star rating preferred, obviously. And if you had a certain guest that you really enjoyed their content, make sure to give them a shout-out in the review. So if you like Matt Cramer and you love what he had to say, make sure to give him a shout-out in the review to thank him for his time and contribution and the amazing content that guests like him bring. That is the best way to do that. You can also, if you're looking for information on how to do live video like what we're doing, but for your real estate business, go to rockstarlivevideo.com. You can get our free training on exactly how to do that, which is where we show you exactly how to broadcast on Facebook, where to get the content, how to always know what to say and what to talk about, how to get more engagement and traction out of your live videos. All that's on that video training course. It's 100% free at rockstarlivevideo.com. As for the color of the bow that we shall tie upon the show for today, Gregory.
Matthew.
Let's go with canary yellow.
Canary
and I don't know why.
Yellow.
Why?
Okay,
let's do it.
Let's do canary yellow, guys. Canary yellow bow is on the show. Matt, thank you for coming on. We truly appreciate it, man. You have some serious knowledge bombs. We love people of your quality when they come on because it really brings value to everyone out there. Hopefully you guys reach out to Matt, take advantage of his free offer to you so you can get some free content for your prospecting. And, you know, the Johnson Face and I, we do love you guys. That's why we do the show. We've doing it for 4 years now. We're not going to stop because this is such a fun platform where you guys can interact with us and we can all hang out. We can all benefit together. So if this is something of value, give us a 5-star review on iTunes. Tell a friend about it. Tell your goldfish about it. You know, write us a little note. Send it to Matt's house. He lives at 123 Main Street in San Diego. He loves people stopping by, especially if we wear trench coats at noon. Ta-da!
That's right. Well, I'll be out of town for about 4 days. So, sure, I love people to stop by. It's going to be great.
But you guys, hey, we're going to come back. We have another great episode this Friday. And then I will be broadcasting from Japan for the next 1.5 weeks. So you'll be seeing me wandering the halls of some random hotels. But I will be broadcasting from Japan. We're going to be moving our show down till 3 o'clock U.S. time, 6 a.m. Japan time, something like that. Oh, well, we'll figure that exact time in there somewhere. But anyways, stay tuned. Watch it. It'll be a blast. Until next time, guys, we love you. Peace out, ninjas. We're gone.